Hi everyone, it's Jen again. Today I would like to talk a little bit about some of the edits that I've been making, or the additions that I've been kind of going back and adding to Chapter 2. I think I'm getting pretty close to how I want it to be. I might be releasing a public demo soon. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the choices I've made and why. So in these tunnels, there were these, there are these pathways that led to dead ends. So if we look at this map, like the entrance, there was 3 paths that then split into 3 paths, that then split into 3 paths, that then split into 3 paths, and they were all dead ends. And in these dead ends, some of these rooms had key items that you need to in order to complete the chapter, and other dead ends were just completely dead ends. I didn't want to waste the player's time by being in just an empty room, so I had put story dialogue in those rooms. Oops, I don't want to go that path, actually. I want to go left. I had put little story moments, little dialogue banter between the protagonist and his companion, so that way the player wouldn't feel like they wasted their time when they hit a dead end, and they would have opportunities to kind of build the trust and attraction levels with that companion, as well as getting to know the characters a little bit better, because the storyline progression is not linear. A lot of these dialogue moments, I had to be careful to be able to make sense in different parts of the journey, at least within the given chapter. But it actually wasn't that hard to do. Like, you can still make like really meaningful or fun dialogue between the characters without it having to have like a direct impact on like the linear aspect of the story progression. And in fact, I think because I can't reveal certain like storyline aspects, because depending on whether or not the characters have what they know about the place that they're in, it kind of forced me to be a little bit more creative in making just kind of exploring different parts of their characters and focusing more on their on just having kind of like a fun exchange of words and getting to know little quirks about the characters rather than having like all important like dialogue that you need to read in order to like understand the story. So yeah, sorry, I get kind of lost. In these dead ends, besides having these character parts, right? That could build up your trust and attraction. They end with the option to investigate the room. In the initial build of this game, this option didn't really have any purpose other than to reiterate the fact that the tunnels are frail, and the more time you spend in there, the more likelihood it would be for the rooms to collapse. However, once you investigate the one room once, like, there just wasn't any point to investigating it, because there was no reward for the player. It almost hurt. I ended up hurting myself by having that option there, because I kind of conditioned the player to ignore those options. And then in Chapter 3, investigating the rooms and certain objects becomes more important. So I went back and looked at Chapter 2 with some beta testing feedback, and realized that I really needed to reward the player for either I needed to get rid of this option to investigate the tunnel, or I needed to reward the player for investigating it so that I could condition them that, oh, examining these tunnels is a good thing. I didn't have any more items to incorporate into the story. I really didn't want to like flood the player with pointless items. So the other way to reward the player for performing certain actions would be to help them build their stats. So in this case, investigating the area, even though there's nothing that facilitates solving the puzzle or like progressing the plot, it kind of brings out this quirk of the main character that he's very meticulous, and the more that you investigate things, the more it brings out or makes it apparent to the companion his meticulous nature. So it ends up being like this little bit of like banter between the two of them, where the companion kind of teases the protagonist for being so meticulous about everything, and also kind of urging them to kind of like take it down a notch. Like, you don't have to like look at every little speck of dust in here. So yeah, it ended up being a really fun opportunity to have some lighthearted banter between the characters, and it had a secondary purpose now to reinforce that idea to the player, to help condition the player that, oh, investigating things is a good thing because I will be rewarded with something that it'll be worth my time. It will be worth that click. Just things that I'm learning as I make the game. Like I've said in the past, I'm not a programmer. I'm not a game designer. So things like conditioning the player didn't really like occur to me on a conscious level. So it's been nice having the freedom to be able to just kind of go back and to insert these little moments without having to like do any major reworking of like the game up to this point. I feel like having my game set up by like locations and triggers, as opposed to having it all done in like kind of like storyline paths, has made it easier for me to go back and like make like these types of little adjustments and add things like this like pretty easily. And I'm very satisfied with how much more rewarding this aspect of the game feels for the amount of time that I've invested in making this change. Like, this was just a little block of code that that I wrote on a lunch break, and it adds so much. So if you're debating on whether or not to have a little bit of banter here and there, a little bit of flavor text here and there, I would just say go for it. Try it out. The worst possible outcome is that it doesn't add anything to the game, and it like detracts with too much fluff, too much padding, and you just take it out and you lost like 15 minutes of your life. But if it adds something to the game, if it adds something to the experience, if it brings a little bit more polish and shine to your characters, then oh my goodness, that was a really good 15 minutes spent. Okay, so thanks so much for listening to my rambling. I'm excited about how my project is coming along, and I hope to be able to have a public demo available soon. So stay in touch, and don't forget to enjoy the process. Have as much fun with it as you possibly can. This should be, if you're doing this as a hobby like I am, it should never be a source of stress. It should only be a source of pride, in my opinion. Pride and joy. So thanks again. Enjoy the process. See you next time.